Welcome back, everyone. It's here. And today I've got some r/best of for you all. As per usual, I'll be reading you the posts, giving you my opinions, and I hope you do the same down in the comments below. And without further ado, let's jump right into it. This post was collected by Big O Nerd. The original OP is then ad 2196, posted to r/advice July 15th, 2026. My sugar daddy died and his wife won't leave me alone. Oh dear lord, here we go. Okay, so I don't really know how to work this app, so bear with me. I, 19 female, had a 75 male sugar daddy. He passed in April, and he did not tell me he had a wife. Context, we met a year ago, and he has paid me a little more than $700 a week. We did not have any sort of sexual contact, and I'd say, in all, we probably saw each other in person about a handful of times. In our beginning stages of talking, he told me he had no kids, and his wife passed away when she was 30 in a drunk driving accident. A bald-faced lie. Okay, so my sugar daddy told me he was in the hospital because he was having heart palpitations, and after that, he went ghost. At first, I didn't think anything of it, but then a week went past and he was not responding to any of my calls or texts. Then I get a text from a number saying that this is 75 male wife. She was calling me slurs, bitches, and literally every insult in the book. I told her I didn't know he was married still, and he told me she passed away, and she proceeded to call me a liar. I blocked her after that. 2 days later, there was a dead mouse left in my mailbox. I didn't liken this to my situation with my sugar daddy's wife. Then, a day later, I got a text from a random number saying, "I hope you get this message, home-wrecking bitch." And then she basically said I was the rat in their life, and I'm the reason why they were struggling with money. I'm assuming she got my address through sugar daddy's messages. I blocked the number, and she will not stop calling me from other fake numbers and sending me threatening messages. I filed a police report, but they basically said they can't do anything because she lives in another state, and there's no proof that it's actually her. What do I do? Edit. Thank you for the very few people who actually gave advice. To all of you other people, I have a job, but I also have 2 toddler siblings that I have to provide for, so yes, I was happily taking his money. Also, me and him were what I thought to be close, and I actually really enjoyed his company and our talks. I wasn't just in it for his money. We did have a bond a bit. Also, I'm going to start documenting as much as I can. I did just get a new phone, and none of her previous threatening messages saved because I didn't back my old phone up, sadly, but I do have the many calls I have been receiving from her, so hopefully that helps. Comments. Richie70. Would it be that hard to say what SD means at least once? I started off thinking stepdad, but sugar daddy makes a lot more sense. All you really can do is block each new number and hope she gets bored if the police aren't interested. I'm really having a hard time feeling too sympathetic. You played stupid games, taking a lot of money from an old man, and now you've won stupid prizes. Be glad she isn't going to the police claiming that you were a scammer taking advantage of an elderly man. OP responds, downvoted. The person in the most wrong here was my sugar daddy. He lied. He sent me money. He cheated. Interrelation 7844 comments. Oh my god, Reddit men piss me off. He was literally giving you money out of his own free will and lying to you. OP responds, thank you. April Onwards comments. She doesn't owe him anything. He's a grown man who made his own decisions, and he should be held accountable for that. Did she force him to send him money? No. This double standard is insane. Twisted9 Demented, downvoted, comments. So, if a scam artist from another country takes your money, is it the same thing? OP responds, I never scammed. I was 100% truthful with the only liar in this situation was him. User Arson6 comments, if she lives in another state, who delivered the mouse? Did she actually mail it? Because that would be the crime I would try to go after if so. OP responds, I live on the border of the state she lives in, so it's probably a 30-minute drive, and the mouse wasn't in a box, it was just in my mailbox. I think she drove and put it there. User Groovin' and Movin' comments, I don't feel bad, you were kind of taking advantage of an older person's finances. If I were her, I'd be irate too. It's like the other commenter said, play stupid games, win stupid prizes. I would just lay low and not respond to anything. Chances are she'll move on. On the other hand, maybe try digging deep down and feeling some sympathy for her situation. If you really didn't know about her/his real life, then surely you must feel some guilt for the fact that her lifelong husband is dead, and she's finding out about a 19-year-old sugar baby after the fact, while grieving. Grief in general comes with anger. I can't imagine how this is adding to it. Just don't engage and she'll move on and get a job. OP responds, I do feel empathy for her, but going to the lengths of putting a dead mouse in my mailbox is nuts. I have a job, by the way, and I hope she'll move on. User Bungling Boris comments, yeah, this very much feels like I'm gonna need both sides of the story. OP responds, what I'm saying is 100% the truth. I'm not sugarcoating anything, but I would actually like to have a real talk with her and understand what their relationship was like for him to have to lie about her death like that. Bungling Boris responds, how did you meet this sugar daddy fella? OP responds, on a dating site. Bungling Boris responds further, dating? You swiped right on a 75-year-old man? You say you don't sugarcoat things, but your posts are giving me diabetes. OP responds, I wrote in my bio I was looking for a sugar daddy, so yes, I swiped motherfucking right on a 75-year-old man, the fuck? User Admirable Bit 8337 comments, what was he paying $700 a week to a sugar baby for if there was zero sexual contact? Also, document everything, get security cameras if you can, look into a restraining order. OP responds, he knew my situation. I have to pay for my siblings, daycare, clothes, food, and basically everything. We talked a lot. I think he was just lonely. I don't know though, because he had a wife. User Key Possible 6865. I'm so scared my daughter will do shit like this for old men. I don't think I could handle that. Is there a reason why you chose to be a sugar baby? OP responds, downvoted, I need money to pay for my siblings' life because their father doesn't want to be a father. Heavy Fuel 2527 comments, listen, clearly she's going the stages of grief. My grandpa had someone after his wife died, he would send money and all. Nothing sexual. He felt money because his wife died, but I was angry. I was mad. The messages as his granddaughter made me upset, but he was just lonely. I wanted to scream and cry to her, but she didn't understand. Understand, yes. Was it cheating that he did? Yes, but clearly he was at the point he just didn't care. Let his wife say what she wants to say, but leaving dead animals is insane. But I can understand her side. I don't know what else to say, but maybe don't get money from old-ass men, LMAO? Hope he responds, downvoted. Maybe don't marry a liar? Stock Song 5789 comments, says the person that dated the liar, crying emoji. Hope he responds, I don't know, dated and married are on two different sides of the field, bud. Okay, so I just kind of want to add this. When I was in high school, one of my gal friends used to work at a Dutch Brothers stand. The amount of guys that were older that would come through and flash like a ton of money and leave high tips specifically trying to get one of the Dutch girls, and I don't mean like they're Dutch as in their ethnicity, I mean like Dutch as in, they work at the Dutch stand, to like be their sugar baby was a ton. Like it would happen every few days, and sometimes it was the same guy numerous times. Like there are guys that just want to do this. It's not like OP was actively scamming him. This was probably something that he wanted to do. Final update after 4 days, July 19th, 2026. Hello guys, I just want to thank everyone that gave me lots of advice and well wishes. You all are much appreciated. So, I bought cameras, tried talking to the police, again, they did nothing, changed my number, and I looked into lawyering up. I also did a lot of digging through my 75 male sugar daddy's Facebook. Also, I'm sorry for causing so much confusing for not saying it before Reddit said I was likely to get flagged. We can call him Ronald for the sake of this. I did not see anyone on his page that looked like they could be his wife, but I did find his niece, and I will call her Anna. I know this may sound dumb, but I did text her, and basically explained to her my situation with Ronald's wife, and me and Ronald's relationship, hoping that she could shed some light onto my situation, and oh boy, she did! I'm not going to be sharing everything she told me, so this post isn't traced back to any of us involved. Ronald and his wife, I will call her Ashley, have been divorced for 8 years. Ashley is mentally unstable and was stalking and harassing Ronald while they were divorced, causing him to have restraining orders on her and calling the cops on her so many times. They did in fact have a child together, but their child died when they were in their 30s in a car crash and Ashley was the one driving. Oh. Anna's family highly assumed that Ashley was high on meth because she was addicted to everything under the sun, and that's why she crashed in the first place. Ashley has been a drug addict for a very long time, and she was extremely mentally and physically abusive towards Ronald. She would also drain their accounts on insane amounts of heroin, coke, meth, crack, you name it. When Ronald went to the hospital, somehow Ashley found out that he was there, and we think that's when she took his phone, because Anna said that when she got to the hospital, a nurse asked her, "Will Ronald's wife be coming back?" Since I changed my phone number, I haven't heard word from her, and I haven't seen any strange activity at my home. Thank God. I do feel really bad for being so mad at Ronald for lying to me, but now I know the truth, and I can understand why he did lie about some things from his past. I miss talking to him a lot, and Anna told me that Ronald told her mom a couple months before his death that he'd been talking to a lady that made him happy. So I'm just glad he got some joy out of the short time we had together. I do miss him dearly. I'm going to answer some questions and crazy statements I've seen in the comments. Yes, I have a job. What led me to look for a sugar daddy in the first place is that my dad and his wife chose to completely not provide for my 2 toddler siblings. I have to pay for the clothes on their backs and for the food in their stomachs. I also pay well over $1,000 in daycare fees just so I can have the peace of mind that they are being fed while I'm at work. No, Ronald and I really did not have any sexual contact, and he never asked for any sexual favors from me. As crazy as it sounds, I think we really did have a connection and that he was just lonely. We talked so much and called every night. Also, he was willing to give me so much money because he was very well off and sympathized with my situation. By the way, I never asked him for that much money. He would just send it. Again, thank you for the advice and heartfelt messages. As for the rest of you, I hope you have a day that you deserve. God damn, those first sets of comments, just Reddit fucking loves their moral high ground, huh? I personally would never want to swipe right on an old man, so that means that you're wrong and bad for doing so, and play stupid games, win stupid prizes. She's a struggling 19-year-old who, literally was just like, yeah, I'm looking for a sugar daddy. And Ronald was like, sick, I'm looking for a lady to make me feel happy and listen to me. But OP, you forgot to ask Reddit for permission. Ronald sought you out, you were seeking a Ronald, but you forgot to ask Reddit. And that was your biggest mistake. Because they would have told you that you were morally inferior to them. That you played stupid games and won stupid prizes like a dead mouse in your mailbox and a deranged stalker who's high on several fucking drugs. Yuck. On a serious note though, it is just fucking tragic that Ronald pretty much saw that, the night that his child died was also the night that the woman that he loved died and moved away from that. But it is also sweet that in his final few months and, of his life with OP, that he was able to brag that there's a lady in my life that makes me happy. And that's cool. Also, to the commenter who asked for both sides of the story, what the fuck are you gonna do? Seriously. Contact a medium? Get a Ouija board? What's your plan? This post was collected by Big O Nerd. The original OP is cmouse9996, posted to r/relationships June 22nd, 2026. Am I the asshole for saying actions have consequences to my daughter and wife? I, 48 male, have a daughter, 17 female, and wife, 47 female. I also have a sister, 45 female. My sister was quite close to us and has gained considerable wealth through her career in medicine, as well as through businesses she started. When my daughter was 9, my sister told my wife and me that she had started a college fund for my daughter, as well as the rest of my brother's kids. My wife and I were very grateful. Time skip until now. My daughter and wife, as well as my brothers and their families, discovered that my sister was cheating with a coworker. The betrayed wife ended up reaching out and telling us exactly what she did and how her husband was planning to leave her for my sister. My sister did not and does not want to get married or have kids, and basically ended up kicking him to the curb. I want to make it clear that I 100% do not condone infidelity. My wife and daughter have been taken aback by this and made their anger clearly visible. When my brother ended up inviting my brothers and their families, as well as mine and my sister for a holiday, they cursed my sister out to their face, with my wife calling her a whore and my daughter calling her a home-wrecking butt. My brother ended up hearing this and kicked my family out, and have chosen to not invite my wife and daughter to any event. After this, my wife and daughter cut contact with my sister, while I stayed in contact. My sister was very hurt by my wife and daughter's actions. In her view, she was a very engaged aunt and a supportive sister-in-law, which to her credit, she was, and she felt as though they were choosing a stranger over her. After 6 months, my sister had received no apology or even contact from my wife and daughter. She then called me and told me we needed to discuss something. She stated that my wife and daughter had made their decisions about her, and she would do the same. She would not be disrespected, and she was choosing to split my daughter's college fund evenly amongst my brother's kids. I did not protest this decision, and while I didn't agree with my sister, I did not try to change her mind. After this, I went home and told my wife and daughter this news. My daughter is a rising senior and now has to go through this admissions process. She and my wife were both shocked and viewed it as extremely unfair. They were already angry enough at the fact my brothers wanted nothing to do with them and thought that they were being punished by everyone for doing the right thing. My daughter began to cry, saying that she would never be able to afford to go to the college of her dreams. My wife asked what I said to my sister, and I said nothing. I stated that actions had consequences, and they were free to make their moral choices. And my sister could make her financial choices. They both called me an asshole and have been distant. So, Reddit, am I the asshole? Comments, no unique username 95. Everyone sucks here. You, your sister, and all your siblings, your wife and daughter, ugh. A little curious why you and your brothers are just accepting your sister's affair. You don't condone infidelity, but your whole family seems to just be okay with all this and punishing your wife and daughter for having an issue with her actions. She clearly isn't a supportive aunt or sister-in-law if she can't see why they're upset. She's accepting no responsibility for her own actions, and she's pulling funding because her niece isn't telling her she didn't do something morally repugnant. Your daughter doesn't get the money. That's your sister's right. But your sister doesn't get to act like this is just some choosing a stranger over her. OP responds, my sister is the youngest and the rest of my brothers have a minimum 5-year age gap with her. They like to baby her since that is what they did when they were children. She's always been close to all of us, and I don't see them cutting her off. They see my daughter's and wife's behavior as incredibly rude and ungrateful, as my sister has provided financial support to us. In the end, it just comes down to my brothers wanting a relationship with my sister over one with my wife and daughter, and not wanting to see my sister disrespected. As for accepting responsibility, they believe the married party is more to blame, and my sister agrees. While she doesn't view herself as innocent, she also doesn't view herself as completely guilty. I think if my wife and daughter disagreed with her actions but didn't humiliate her, she would still be funding college. User VividBar6811. Well, I don't blame your wife and daughter. Your sister is a person of low moral character. I wouldn't want jack to do with her either. The fact that she has decided to remove her financial support is her choice. Personally, it seems on par with the type of person she is. The problem you have now is clearly your wife and daughter won't ever have a relationship with your siblings or their kids going forward. So that leaves you piggy in the middle. From your wife's perspective, the fact that you all have shrugged your shoulders and said, oh well, about your sister's behavior no doubt puts you all on a similar footing. Personally, the fact that you're so accepting of the disrespect towards your wife and daughter is telling. Show me the company you keep, and it says a lot about the type of person you are. I wouldn't be apologizing, and I also wouldn't expect my husband to co-sign the level of bullshit you clearly are either. OP responds, in my perspective, this is less about standing up for my wife and daughters than trying to maintain some family contacts. My wife and daughter did not need to humiliate my sister in public. That was their want, and I can't control what my brothers choose to do after that event. All in all, it's a very unfortunate circumstance. User UTZChipS22. I have a question though. Where does this animosity come from? Don't get me wrong, what your sister did says a lot about her as a person. Not only the affair, but the way she then said, boy, bye, this was fun but not interested. I would lose respect for her as a person, but the way they reacted and so publicly. OP responds, my sister has never wanted to be married, have kids, or have a traditional path in life. She's always just said it wasn't for her. Apparently the coworker had a crush on her for quite some time, and I suppose he saw a future with my sister. but she didn't feel the same, which is why she rejected his proposal. Also, the betrayed wife ended up taking her cheating husband back. When I said she kicked him to the curb, I mean she declined his proposal, and the betrayed wife took him back. User Mellophile2702 comments, "Are you sure she actually was someone's mistress? Did the woman have proof?" Personally, I think telling a teenage girl and other family members about the infidelity is very immature and toxic on the man's wife's part. You just don't do that unless you're in high school. Has your sister done anything to your wife and kid, personally, to hurt them? Does she have a history of making bad or immoral choices? I don't support being a mistress, but plenty of people cheat and are still excellent parents, sisters, daughters, employees, friends, etc. Also, they are huge hypocrites if they find her immoral but will still take her money. They can't have it both ways, and I don't blame your sister for pulling the college money. Not the asshole. Opie responds, "No, she was good to them both. She paid for some of my daughter's extracurriculars, took her on trips with her cousins, helped my wife through postpartum, helped us with rent, and got my daughter her dream internship with her connections." She did have proof, text messages, call logs, and yes, my sister knew he was married. User Child of Ravens comments, "You're not wrong, but neither are they. Wife, daughter, or sister for the money, but I am an ass and feel obligated to state that I hope your sister continues to feel the consequences of her actions. I hear some places have a homewrecker clause, meaning the cheated-on spouse can go for damages against the affair partners. Perhaps your sister needs to rearrange her finances for a different reason." Opie responds, "We're not in one of those states. The wife can try, but I don't think it'll go anywhere. I asked my sister if she knows how much he spent on her, and she said it's around $15,000, but she didn't spend any money on him, so I don't know how the courts will view that." User Financial Welcome 62. There's a question that has been asked for decades. Does cheating make you a bad person? So, is your sister a bad person for cheating with a man she knew was married? I'm not going to answer that because blood is thicker than water, and honestly, that's a question you need to answer. What I will say is this. I'm not sure I would want my 17-year-old daughter around a person that has a distorted moral compass. People that age are impressionable, and she shouldn't, your daughter, see what is excusable. Your sister cheated with a married man and she suffered zero consequences. The guy did. He almost got divorced, and time will see if that happens in the future, but nothing happened to your sister, who has some responsibility in this. Had your daughter not voiced her opinion, she would have seen this. Thankfully, she has a good moral compass and knows this sort of action is wrong. Will it make her life a little more difficult? Yes. Will she not get great internships in the future now? Yes, most likely, but you know what? She'll be able to look at herself in the mirror and smile with whatever she accomplishes. Those other kids and cousins, not so much. I'm actually proud of what your daughter did, and I absolutely wish the best for her. Tell her to apply for every grant she can find. A lot of these get unused. I'll leave with this for you to think about, OP. You know who is the victim in the story. The wife of that guy. She did nothing wrong. Your daughter, and possibly ex-wife. Opie responds, "I still think my sister is a good person. She supported our family, volunteered and donated large amounts of time and money in our community, and was there on the front lines of COVID as a doctor. While yes, she made a mistake, I do not think she's an irredeemable human being." User Only the Facts comments, "What sort of discussions did you have with your wife and daughter leading up to this holiday party? Surely the possibility of your sister being there and how the family should react was brought up. While breaking up a marriage is a major character flaw, this was a seemingly close family member, and your wife and daughter came in hostile, judgmental, and beyond rude to someone they love. Maybe you're leaving out more details, but you seem to be observing rather than guiding your family through this." Opie responds, "Yes, they knew she would be there. Between the wife telling and holiday was about 3 weeks. They planned to do this and ambush her. I did not know this, as they did not tell me. Only afterwards did they tell me. This might be necessary context, but my wife's family was broken when her father cheated with another woman, so she absolutely despises cheaters. To my wife and daughter, this acted like their way of getting revenge. It was instant love to instant hate when they found out my sister cheated. They told me that they were going to keep their distance at the party, but clearly they did not do that." Update 1. After 1 day, June 23rd, 2026. If y'all have seen my last post, I have an update for you. My wife and daughter have gone to stay with my wife's friend. Additionally, my daughter decided to text my sister and demanded the money and said we would be suing her if she did not release the funds to us. On top of this, she doubled down on her comments, saying she stood by her mom and her words. My sister sent the messages my daughter sent, which is the only way I know they were sent, as neither my wife nor my daughter has chosen to inform me. She said before finalizing the decision to divide my daughter's fund, she consulted her legal team, and they have no grounds for bringing a lawsuit to her. At this point, I'm incredibly disappointed in my wife and daughter's behavior, and find their entitlement astounding. My sister has also told our brothers about my wife and daughter's ridiculous plan, and they are appalled by their actions as well. I don't know what to do, and it seems like they don't want to accept the consequences of their actions. They're using my sister's cheating as an excuse to do whatever the hell they want without telling me. I don't know how much of this I can take. I've apologized to my sister for their rudeness and entitlement, but I can tell she's very pissed. Not the fact they disapprove of her participating in infidelity, but at the fact they think she owes them over $500,000 after cutting her off and cussing her out. Some people were wondering what happened with my sister's job as a doctor and whether she was fired or not. The answer to that is nothing really significant happened. While they were both told their behavior was unprofessional, there were no power imbalances and they both just received a warning. Some people hypothesized that perhaps my sister facing no consequences was why my wife and daughter felt they needed to do what they did. Perhaps there is some merit to that, but I do not believe it excuses their actions. Also, I saw comments saying the only reason why my brothers were siding with my sister was for her money. I don't believe this is entirely the reason, maybe a small bit of it. They've always been very protective of her since she's the youngest and the only girl. Also, they do pretty well for themselves. Not as well as my sister, but still pretty well. While she's given money to them, it's a much smaller amount compared to the amount she supported my family. They just like her more than my wife and daughter and prioritize the time spent with her. I also don't understand everyone who wants me to cut my sisters and brothers off. My wife and daughter made their choice to mind business that wasn't theirs, and face the consequences. Losing my entire family of origin because of decisions that were not well thought out does not seem worth it to me. We've been treated fine until 2 members of my family decided to disrespect my sister in front of the rest of our family. Comments. What did OP say about whether his sister should face consequences for her actions? Thank you for this. What my sister did was very wrong, but I don't think it defines her as a person. I am not her parent to give her consequences. Hell, I can barely do that for my teenager. And cutting her off for doing something in her private life makes no sense to me, when I'm not even the victim. What my sister did was horrible. I'm not disagreeing with anyone about that. I just wanted to acknowledge that it was both parties at fault, rather than just my sister, which many misogynists have stated. However, my wife and daughter's way to get revenge and their choices are the reason why we're in the situation we are in. My brothers and I have addressed my sister's situation privately, and I know it's easy to some people here, but I don't think cutting her off will do anything helpful. What did OP say about the college fund, its conditions, strings, and why his daughter lost access to it? My sister pays the college directly from the college fund. Whatever else money left over goes to the child. All money is in my sister's name. The strings were to maintain a relationship with my sister. That doesn't mean they couldn't disagree with her, just to not disrespect her, which is a bare minimum expectation. My daughter can apply for loans and go to community college to save money since she's partially responsible for my sister choosing to not give her the money. She's not acting like a parent because she has no obligation to. She's an aunt. This was a gift that was guaranteed through a relationship. If you cut someone off, you cut off their money too. My sister didn't destroy a family. The wife took her cheating husband back, and it was her husband's decision to wreck his family. What did OP say about his sister's relationship with his wife and daughter after they cut her off? At this point, I don't think my sister really cares about maintaining a relationship with my wife and sister after how they treated her. In her words, I didn't go to medical school, work nearly 100-hour weeks as a resident, risked my livelihood for my business, and sacrificed so much to give money to people who don't even want to associate with me. While my daughter may see it as the other cousins being favored, I don't. I see it as them not biting the hand that fed them. She's not destroying my family. My daughter and wife not wanting to accept my sister's actions and responding to their distance is what is pulling us apart. My wife and daughter cut her off first. She's just tired of their entitlement. Apparently, they went to some consultations with local contract lawyers, and they stated they had no case. Her college fund is considered a gift, and until it transferred hands, it belongs solely to my sister. Also, since my daughter hasn't even begun the admissions process, there is time for her to make decisions that reflect her losing the college fund, and my sister can't be forced to give it. What did OP say about his family of origin, his immediate family, and his daughter's college plans? My family of origin is definitely not perfect, but the family that I created, my immediate family, is acting very entitled. They caused a scene at my brother's party, cut her off, and then expected my sister to pay for college and wanted to sue her. I understand why my family of origin made the decisions that they made. While I'm sad and wish things weren't so bad, I can see where my family of origin is coming from. I never said this. She can apply where she wants, but there is no way I can pay most of the cost with my salary. And the reality is, if she doesn't do the community college and transfer route, my ability to help will be very limited. What did OP say about his wife and daughter's actions and why he believes they're responsible for the current situation? I barely recognize my wife and daughter. They've never seemed this entitled. On the contrary, they were very kind, and my wife's warmth was a large reason I married her. I'm mad and confused because it feels like I'm dealing with strangers, and it's hard for me to think positive when everything is so negative around me. Yeah, they cursed her out. That was their vigilante justice. I do not support my sister's cheating. I have privately discussed it with her and my brothers, and I've said multiple times what she did was horrible. How is my wife trying to protect herself from a family who they now realize never actually cared about them by acting entitled to over $500,000, of which not a cent did they earn? By causing a scene. What did causing a scene do? Did it help the cheated on wife? Give them a sense of moral superiority? In fact, if they wanted to curse her out, fine. If they wanted to cut her off, fine. But acting like they're owed something is crazy. Update 2, after 2 days from last post. Well, my wife and daughter did try to sue my sister. They went to 6 consultations, and all 6 said they had no case. So that clearly isn't happening. They've decided to take a different approach, which is harassing my sister, and my wife and daughter both got their friends involved in doing so. My sister sent the messages my wife and daughter's friends were sending to her, and they were quite nasty. On top of this, they called the hospital where my sister works and informed them of what my sister did, and said they were boycotting the hospital. My sister works in a pediatric hospital and is a pediatric neurosurgeon. Not exactly a service that is boycottable. They're basically trying to get her fired. I guess since my wife and daughter can't access her money, they want to try and take one source of the money away from her, and that's how they're getting revenge. This did not go anywhere, as the hospital is already aware of my sister's actions. My sister has shifted from pissed to just sick of the situation. I've apologized for the harassment she's been receiving. She's informed me that if they make any physical threats, then she will be taking legal action. I hope that it doesn't come to that, but honestly, who knows at this point? I'm 99% sure my marriage is over. I cannot live with someone with this much entitlement and this much vengeance. I can't do it. As for my child, I will always love her and want the best for her. However, I do not like her entitled attitude. While I will support her, I cannot back this behavior. As for my sister's participation in infidelity, my sister and I had a longer, calmer conversation. I explained to her that I was disappointed by her actions, but would always love her and be there for her. We sort of went into why she did it. That's private, so I won't share it here. It was a productive convo, and I learned more about my sister. Overall, I'm just sort of done. They're all still at my wife's friend's house and are barely communicating with me. And whatever is being communicated is in rage. I've given up on trying to get them to see reality. Question: what next steps should I take to make sure this divorce goes as smooth as possible, especially for my child? How should I document my daughter's refusal to communicate with me so it doesn't look like I'm abandoning or alienating her? Will the fact that my wife and daughter are actively harassing my sister carry any weight in court? Well, this is definitely going to turn into a saga with time. Good lord. You can definitely take a moral stance as to why what the sister did was wrong and abhorrent and just terrible, and why she definitely shouldn't have done that. But then to turn around, cut her off, and demand her money is crazy. It's insanely entitled. It just comes across as though you're pulling the cards you are so you can feel morally superior to her, but you still want the tainted money from the sister, huh? Despite the moral implications that follow it? Oh, now you're wanting to sue for $500,000? You can't claim the moral high ground but still expect the immoral person to pay for your lifestyle. That's just not how this works. I'd also be very curious to hear your guys' nuanced opinions on just this whole situation as a whole. At what point, if a family member cheats, do you disown them? Do you have a stern talking to them of, hey, this behavior's fucked up and I don't endorse it, you should work on that? Or is it just kind of, well, that's fucked up, they did that, but not my circus, not my monkeys, and move forward? Or maybe you have your own unique view on it. I'd be very curious. I tend to avoid directly talking about nuanced cheating situations because one time I did, I got death threats, so yay. This post was collected by Direct Caterpillar 77 and their tagline is, Satan is not a pogo stick. The original OP is Fiancé Fighting Throw, posted August 6th, 2014 to r/relationships. My 26 female, fiancé 29 male keeps delaying our wedding plans because of his brother, 25 male, being in prison. Been with my fiancé for 3 years, engaged to be married for 9 months. Everything between us was great. We really get along. We like each other's families, mostly, more on that in a minute. We both want to be married and have 2.5 kids and a house with a white picket fence and swimming pool, etc., etc. Problem is, we can't move forward or plan anything on the wedding because his brother is in prison. Long story short, his younger brother was drinking and driving with a friend in the car, crashed it, the friend was killed. His brother was convicted of homicide by vehicle while under the influence of alcohol, or something, and was sentenced to 10 years in prison. It pretty much tore my fiancé's family apart. His dad refuses to admit one of his sons is a felon and pretends he doesn't exist. Won't visit him. His mom is a mess. Serious depression issues, cries all the time, can't keep a job. Fiancé and younger brother are somewhere in between. It upsets them to talk about it, and they don't like to talk about it. Fiancé didn't tell me he had a brother in prison until we had been dating for a year. Did not mention this brother at all before that. But he visits him once a month and mails him books and money to his prison account. His dad forbids their mom from sending prison brother money, so fiancé and his brother both have to do it so he can buy candy bars or whatever in there. How this relates to me. I want to plan our wedding and was pretty excited when we were engaged. My fiancé was very hesitant to pick a date with me for months and I couldn't figure out why. It started to make me worry that he didn't really want to get married. Finally, I asked him and he came clean. His brother has a parole hearing in 5 months, from now, originally further off when I first asked, and may get early release. He wants to wait to see if his brother will get released before a date is set in stone because he wants his brother at the wedding. Basically, we've been fighting over this ever since. Fiancé wants his prison brother to be at the wedding. He thinks brother being at a big family celebration will fix all the problems in their family. Dad'll be happy. Mom will be happy. All will be fixed. First, I doubt that. Did not tell him that. But I think we have to start planning the wedding, without knowing if his brother will be there or not. This will be his brother's second parole hearing. First time he did not get early release because the parole board was not happy his brother has not been going to his AA meetings. My fiancé says his brother tried going but is an atheist and was offended at all the mentions of God in AA. AA is basically like a religious thing, which I did not know. I thought it was like a rehab thing. He still has not been going to the meetings, so I don't understand why they would let him out now. My fiancé told me to keep planning the wedding without knowing the date, but I tried to explain to him, you can't really do that. He told me to look at dresses in a catalog or something, which made me cry. Sad face. We had another big fight about that, and he accused me of being embarrassed to be married to a guy with a felon brother. I told him that wasn't true, and he asked why I never went with him to visit his brother. He asked me right after we were engaged to go with him to meet his brother. He said his brother wanted to meet me. I told him, honestly, that the idea of going to prison scared me. He said it was safe, and I said I didn't feel comfortable. So he never asked again. During our fight about this, he said his brother isn't a bad person, just made a costly mistake and was serving his time honestly. I said I believed him. He then accused me of claiming that I was worried his brother would hurt me, which I said I never said. I was uncomfortable with just going to the prison, not uncomfortable with meeting his brother. I said I would love to meet his brother anywhere else and would love to have him at our wedding. He accused me of being a selfish bridezilla who cared more about picking out wedding dresses than seeing his family whole and happy together again. I didn't even know what to say to that. I started crying and he left the room and slammed the door. Sad face. It's starting to affect more than just us too. My parents know I'm eager to start the wedding planning and they know he's refusing to pick a date with me. My parents are going to pay for it, and so they have been planning things, financially, and can't put things off forever. They think he's not serious. They know he has a brother in prison, but I haven't told them why he's delaying the wedding planning, and they, in turn, think he's having second thoughts about marrying me, and they're starting to resent him for it. This is just ruining everything between us. We pretend everything is fine when we're out in public and around other people, but privately, we don't talk much anymore. We never fought before this. He never called me names before this. I'm really not a selfish person. I really would put off the wedding forever until his brother got out if I had known it meant that much to him. But at the same time, my parents are bugging me because they have money earmarked for paying for it. I feel like a horrible person for pressing the issue, and now he's mad at me all the time. I tried apologizing to him, but he just says he doesn't want to talk about the wedding. I feel like his family hates me too. His other younger brother glares at me now. His mom called me and tried apologizing for something and just started blubbering and hung up. I feel like I ruined everything. I wanted to start planning and my parents were bugging me, so I forced the issue. Now things are ruined between us. Too long didn't read, fiance has brother in prison who may be getting out in 5 months. He doesn't want to start planning the wedding until then because he wants his brother there. This has caused nothing but fights and stress between him, me, and my parents. Relevant comments. Sheep74. Okay, so a few people have been quite hostile on here. They are not wrong. You really have dismissed and ignored things that seem like they'd be really important for your fiance, and you're prioritizing your parents' inconvenience with money before the happiness of your future husband. And I can't believe the inconvenience is that great. Were you always going to get married in 2014? No. Your marriage has not been divined by the gods, so they must have some flexibility with it. That being said, being made to wait in limbo does suck. The answer to that isn't to argue about it, but to plan rationally and have a grown-up type of talk that people planning to spend the rest of their lives together should be able to have. If your fiancé wants his brother there, is he willing to wait the whole of his sentence? Are we talking about waiting 6 years? Is that a deal breaker for you? If he doesn't want to wait that long, then what's the harm in planning it for some time after the parole hearing? Say, a year from now. That way, if it was successful, the brother will be out, and if not, you can still plan. You need to start a discussion, not an argument. Ask him what exactly he wants because you don't seem to know. Then work out if that fits what you want and progress from there rather than acting like petty kids at each other. Opie responds, "First of all, I honestly did not know visiting his brother was that important. He'd never invited me in the 2 years we dated before our argument. He asked once. I said I rather wouldn't, and he dropped it. This is the man who will bug me in text all day if he wants me to make BLTs for dinner, smiley face. He never lets it go if it's important to him. He mentioned it once, so I thought he didn't care. Secondly, I did try to have a discussion. He didn't want to set a date until his brother's parole hearing. I asked him, what if his brother didn't get out because, as fiancé has told me, he hasn't been going to AA meetings and parole board didn't like that last time. Fiancé blew up and started this whole thing. User JSH1138. What you need to do is go to see his brother with him. Tell his brother you would love to have him in the wedding, but ask him if it's okay with him if you guys start planning the wedding for a date after his hearing, with the understanding that if he doesn't get out, then you guys will have to do it without him. If your fiancé's brother is okay with that, how can he not be? You also need to sit your fiancé down and just tell him that you guys are fighting because you're both under pressure and that either you two need to set a date to get people off your backs, or you need to both publicly tell people why you haven't set a date yet, to get people off your backs. At this point, the whole situation has just become a toxic issue, and you need to find a way to move past it. And either of those sound like it might work. At the bare minimum, you need to inform your own parents about what is going on, since what you're doing is impacting their financial future. OP responds, what you need to do is go to see his brother with him. Tell his brother you would love to have him at the wedding, but ask him if it's okay with him if you guys start planning the wedding for a date after his hearing, with the understanding that if he doesn't get out, then you guys will have to do it without him. If your fiance's brother's okay with that, how can he not be? I like this idea, smiley face. I was going to save this for an update post if needed, but fiance and I talked today. I told him I wanted to talk about his brother and the wedding. He immediately blew up again and tried to pick a fight. I just calmly told him that he should listen to what I have to say. I said, I'm sorry. I didn't understand how important me meeting your brother was, and I now wanted to meet him. He said okay. He said him and his other brother didn't talk about their girlfriends in front of prison brother during visits because they didn't want him to miss girls or something, which sounded weird to me, but okay. Fiance finally first mentioned me to prison brother when he told him he was going to ask me to marry him. Prison brother apparently said I sound like a cool chick and wanted to meet me. Fiance asks, I say no, so he has to show up for prison visits without me. 8 or 9 times. Ugh, sad face. He said his prison brother is having a rough time in there and feels alienated from his family and his old friends. No one visits him except his brothers and occasionally his mother. All his old friends from college, high school, whatever, act like he died in that car accident too. He made some vaguely suicidal comments before, and fiance is worried he might try to hurt himself if he doesn't get out on parole this time. Fiance wanted, God, I'm crying again typing this, since I'm going to be family, to introduce me to prison brother, a new family member to be that didn't ignore him. I refused, and fiance thinks it made prison brother feel worse. Sad face. Anyway, we're going next Sunday to visit his brother. I would be lying if I said I wasn't scared, but I wanted to make a good first impression and be a good future sister-in-law. I will ask him about the wedding, but I don't want to drop it in the conversation without fiance knowing or make the prison brother more upset if he eventually doesn't get out. Update. August 23rd, 2014, 1 week later. Yay! Happy update! Everything was addressed! So, last Sunday, I finally decided I needed to talk to my significant other. I told him I wanted to talk to him about his brother. Remember, we haven't been talking and things have been pretty lonely and quiet when we're just alone at our place. Even no sex, ugh, sad face. And we kind of have been putting on an act when we're around other people or out in public. I told him I wanted to talk about his brother. He immediately got angry and tried to start an argument. I just kept calm and said, I just want to talk about this calmly, and you should listen to what I had to say. He asked, very angrily, if I was breaking up with him. I said no, and then I told him I wanted to meet his brother. He said that I didn't have to do anything I was uncomfortable with. I said it made me uneasy, but I didn't understand how important it was to him when he first asked. So I wanted to do it for him and to meet my future brother-in-law. He smiled and squeezed my hand and thanked me. He explained that his non-prison brother and him have avoided talking about girlfriends when they visit prison brother because they don't want to remind him of girls. Seemed weird to me, but okay. Fiance finally brought me up to prison brother when he told him he planned to ask me to marry him. Prison brother said I sounded like a cool girl and wanted to meet me. Fiance said he would bring me next time. I obviously never came, and like 5-6 visits in a row without an explanation. Yeah, sad face. He said his prison brother is having a rough time in prison and feels alienated from his family and friends. Only visitors he gets are his brothers and sometimes his mother. High school and college friends pretend like he doesn't exist. Aunts, uncles, and cousins don't visit, except for one aunt who visited once and said she would pray for him not to go to hell. Remember, he's an atheist, so he took this poorly. Fiance confided in me that prison brother has made some suicidal comments before, and fiance is worried he might try to hurt himself if he doesn't get out on parole this time. Fiance wanted me to be like a new family member who didn't shun him and accepted him despite him serving time, so when I refused, yeah, some shit started boiling under the surface with my fiance. That all happened last weekend. This weekend, we just got back from our big trip. First of all, things were really great between fiance and I all week. Agreeing to meet his brother really lifted the block between us, so thank you Reddit for telling me I was being a bitch and should have met his brother when he asked. I was still nervous to go. Fiance and I go to pick up his other brother. We drive to the prison, which was 2 hours away. I'm biting my nails. Somebody asked me in my first thread exactly what I was afraid of. I'll tell you what. Fiance told me his brother is in the state's maximum security prison. He is in there with murderers and brother told fiance previously that there are fights every day and guards sometimes break it up with tear gas and hard beanbag guns. I am basically imagining the movies The Book of Eli or The Purge, just total anarchy and gangs all over the place. I thought guys would be leering at me, catcalling, and trying to grab me through chain link fences. That's what I was afraid of. Reality, just a little different. Before we left, fiance told me they're kind of strict about what female visitors can wear, so I should dress like I was going to a job interview. So I did. We get there and it was like the airport. A woman cop put us through a metal detector. She was really mean and strict, but probably had to be. One woman who was my age with a toddler, must have been the wife or girlfriend of somebody inside, in front of us was kicked out for wearing a super tight white tank top and jeans, and the lady cop said, "We tell you this every time, Tiffany. You can't come in here dressed like that." Thankfully, they let me in. We go in, and there were like elderly grandmas and women with kids. A lot of kids, actually. It was kind of sweet and a little bit sad to see all the inmates getting their monthly or weekly visit with their kids. No worries about getting leered at or whatever. All the other inmates were too busy with their families and friends and didn't notice me. His brother comes out and was totally different than what I expected. I don't know what I expected from the stories, but his brother was really funny, cool, and friendly, although he would kind of get oddly quiet at times. He asked me a lot of questions about what I did, my family, and what it was like living with his brother. That kind of naturally segued things into the wedding. He said he hopes he gets out in time for the wedding if he was invited. I said of course he was invited, and that we were waiting to plan things to see if he got out in January. He said he appreciated that, but he didn't think he would get out early. He later said what fiance had told me. He tried going to AA meetings like parole board asked, but couldn't stand it because of all the mentions of God. He said it was unfair that his early release from a government institution was based on his involvement in like a clearly religious program, which I agreed, and said we should just start planning our wedding, and if he's not there, we can celebrate when he gets out. Fiance just kind of looked at me and smiled, and I wanted to start crying and hug them both. He told me a few funny prison stories, like how the only books in the library are religious books and awful grocery store romance novels. The books are donated, apparently, by heavy women who write letters to inmates all day, so they send them the books they like to read. I told him we would send him 50 Shades of Grey, and he was like, "What's that?" Smiley face. Finally, it was time to say goodbye, and I did start crying. I only have sisters and never really saw brothers show affection for one another before. Seeing the three brothers hug and say goodbye to each other made me cry. It's really clear they all love each other, and the one brother being in prison upset them all deeply. Prison brother hugged me and asked me to come back sometime, said that I was better to look at than his brothers. Smiley face. Then I said I would. I kind of felt sorry for him. The four of us were together in this room talking like equals. Then they took him away back inside a chain link fence cage again, and the three of us got to walk outside the doors, and it was like total freedom. Big difference. Anyway, all is resolved aside from future brother-in-law still in prison. In the car, fiance said if his brother didn't want us to wait, we wouldn't wait. Things between us and fiance are now back to normal. Good things are happening. I thought some of you were intentionally kind of hurtful, but tough love works, and it all led to a good outcome. Thank you, Reddit. Too long didn't read, visited my fiance's brother in prison. Wasn't as bad as I imagined. Brother said we should be planning our wedding in case he doesn't get out. Relationship with fiance is back to normal. Yay! So, one of my first thoughts is I do think the fiance might have his hopes a little too high. If his family is treating the brother this way, where he's a black sheep and they're not willing to really reintegrate him even while he's serving time, him being let out and being in the wedding isn't going to suddenly have some like Hallmark movie effect where everyone just reaccepts him. he's still always going to have that cloud above his head. It's still going to affect his personal and future relationships. It's going to be difficult reintegrating. I don't talk about this a lot, and I haven't mentioned it a crazy amount, but when I was 10 years old, my mom was actually incarcerated, and she didn't get out until I was 16. I had visited her a few times in maximum security, and that was a really interesting situation, and talking to her through a phone. And then later she was moved to a minimal security prison, and that was a bit more of an open environment to visit with her with. That's a weird chapter of my life, because at this point in time, it was just about 16 years ago when she was first incarcerated, and a decade ago when she was released. It's something I really haven't had to think about for a while, and looking back on it, I don't know how many kids spent Mother's Day in a prison, or Father's Day for that matter. I mean, I know that there's definitely a pretty solid handful, but it's a weird experience that I have that not really a lot of people can relate to. One of my favorite prisoners, besides my mom, that I love talking to was this really sweet old lady who was like probably in her early 70s, just super sweet, super awesome. She used to buy me candy bars from the vending machine, which actually meant a lot because of the fact of you don't really have a lot of money in prison. And the fact that she was willing to spend what little money she had to like get me a candy bar was just super cool. But like, she was in for kind of a fucked up reason. Her husband was extremely abusive towards her, and one day she just killed him. In self-defense. She had no choice, and because, well, this was, in the early 70s, she saw her only option was to bury him under the porch. And several years later, when she was in her 30s and, things were sniffing around, they found the body. And because of how long the time was, she ended up being convicted and going to prison, and had been serving there ever since. It's kind of weird that in over 2 years of doing this channel, this is the first time that I feel like this has actually really been brought up and discussed. Not complaining, just interesting. Sorry for the weird kind of off-color tangent there. It's not very often that I actually get to kind of poke around at that part of my brain. Well, it's that time again. Something we like to call the outro. Basically, in the outro, I let you know that at GamerSupps, using code OzCheckout, you get 10% off and simultaneously help the channel out. Isn't that super cool? That's all I got for you, unfortunately. Gonna be real, it's really hard to justify actually wanting to take time off if it requires this much effort just to get a week off. Bit more than that, but still. Like, I am running myself a little bit ragged here, trying to set a hard deadline for me to actually have some time off, and goddamn am I regretting it. But I am so looking forward to it. Like, it's gonna be so nice just to be able to wake up in the mornings and, like, I don't know, maybe go for like a nice drive or just go for a walk and just maybe actually explore the area, get some good food, and just kind of live for like a week and just feel like a normal person. Maybe I'll finish up my office or take on some projects and just do human stuff and exist. Oh, God. That'll be so nice. It'll be my first couple days off since Christmas, so I'm looking forward to that.